What's up, guys? This is John with Hope here on another episode of Is This Thing On? EideCast. Hope, thanks for being on the podcast.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So, Hope, generally I like to just start off by just having you kind of introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you, how long you've been with the company, stuff like that.
Yeah. I'm Hope. I'm at Vernite Mitsubishi. I do sales. I've been there just over 2 years now. Spent 4 months in finance and then flunked out.
Oh, dang.
And now I'm back in sales.
Sweet. Right on. What was, you grew up around here? Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. All my family's here. Well, all my immediate family is here. Grew up on the west side of Sioux Falls and went to Roosevelt. Skipped the whole college thing, just like most car salespeople, and went right to work.
Sweet. What was your life like in high school, growing up with your family? Because you have 3 sisters, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the second of 3.
Okay.
My dad's a pastor. My mom was a stay-at-home mom until about high school, and then she started taking some part-time jobs. Me and my sisters are all 2 years apart in between us, so it was interesting. I don't know how my parents did it sober.
Lots of prayer, I bet.
Yeah, seriously. It was probably a little bit chaotic. I worked all throughout high school at Papa Murphy's.
Sweet.
So I would just walk across the street and toss some pizzas around, and
did
that the whole time, and it was a good job, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you grew up with a couple sisters. You were the middle then? Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
So
number 2.
What was that like being a middle child? Did you kind of get the middle child syndrome, or is that a myth?
I think a lot of the times, more than anything, I think I just felt misunderstood by my family. Where, I mean, not that they didn't care, but it would just be certain things where there's so much going on and everyone has their stuff, and so I think we were all just fighting to have our own individuality.
Yeah.
Because we also look a lot alike, and so people couldn't even tell us apart, and so we're just always getting grouped in together.
That's awesome.
Nobody knows who's who, and so I think it just led to feeling misunderstood sometimes, because it's it's really hard to be your own person.
Right. Yeah. So you worked at Papa Murphy's. Didn't do the college thing. What'd you do after high school?
Well, I went to Bible college, which I say doesn't count, just because it wasn't like an accredited college.
Where was it at?
It was out in California. So it's Calvary Chapel Bible College. They have a lot of campuses all over the world. So I spent 2 semesters out in California, 1 semester in Japan, and then I never did my final semester. So never graduated that.
Were you trying to be something? Like, you had a goal in mind when you went over, or was it just to go to college?
I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had originally, my dream was to go to North Central University in Minnesota. Mm-hmm. And I got accepted, and then my dad was like, hey, this is a lot of loans. I don't think you know what you want to go for, really. And I can't help you financially with college loans. Mm-hmm. In that amount, because it would have been like 60, 70 grand in debt, which is a lot for an 18-year-old to take on.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, okay, you might be right. So he was like, you should consider going to this Bible college. His church is affiliated with it. Mm-hmm. And so that's how we knew about it. And he's like, hey, it's a lot easier to get you into, since I'm a pastor at Calvary Chapel. You get a discount, and I think it'd just be a better route until you figure out what you want. And so I was like, yeah, that's fine. So I didn't have a drive to be a pastor or anything in particular. And so the way I took my classes was just kind of whatever seemed interesting, because it was so cheap.
Yeah.
And so it was just a good way to get some life experience, be in a good environment. And
mm-hmm. Because you went to high school, right? You were never homeschooled, were you?
I was.
You were? Okay.
A little bit.
So this is your first time away from home.
Yeah.
Right? What kind of experience did you kind of draw from, that you can go back and be like, I'm glad I went through that?
It was interesting. My first, actually, Yeah. I mean, it was a struggle, I think, because I just expected it to be easy for me to make friends when I got there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that's when I found out I'm an introvert, believe
Mm.
it or not.
I don't believe it.
Because I got there and it was just so hard to go and meet people and talk to them and interact with them. And so I actually was very withdrawn and I would stay in my room a lot. And I became friends with my roommates, but um, it wasn't until probably the last month or two of the first semester I started to make some friends because it was just so hard. And so I was really unhappy there up until that point because I was like, I don't have anybody to talk to. This wasn't easy. I didn't feel like I fit in very well.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, that was interesting. And then after that, I went to Japan. And that was just a whole different type of challenge.
I had no idea you were in Japan. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I spent the semester there. It's a really small campus. There was like, I think it was 6 students, 4 of us were American, 2 from California, 1 from Hawaii, and then me. And only one of them was a girl, and then there's like 2 Japanese students there. So it was very close quarters. We all lived in a house, including the staff. And I mean, it was a big house, and the people were really nice. But I was used to having a lot more independence because my parents were very much like, you gotta be self-reliant. You need to handle your stuff. You need to be independent. We're not gonna hold your hand. And so there were just certain expectations that I had grown up with, and then to be there, it's like we didn't even get our own house key, and so you just had to stay with the staff at all times. And I was like,
weird. For how long? A year, you said?
No. Oh. Just a semester, so okay. Like 4 or 5 months.
Yeah. So you didn't get to go and like explore at all?
I would try to. They definitely wanted to like write out your whole schedule for you, and I had a really hard time with that. So like when I showed up there, they were like, yeah, you have a women's conference you're going to this weekend. I was like, oh no, thank you. And they were not happy with me, but I was like, I'm not going. You didn't even ask me if I wanted to go to that, and I'm gonna stay here. And so
dang.
I don't think they liked that, which I wasn't trying to be disrespectful or rude, but I was like, I didn't want to go. And so yeah, it was just a lot of that. It was hard to get out and explore. Mm-hmm. There was this one lady from the church that took all the students to Mount Fuji one day, though, and that was a really cool experience. But it was tough to see and do all the things I wanted to because I felt like I was being held hostage on campus.
Sure. Okay, so after that, you came back to the U.S. Did you go back to California, or did you come back home?
I came back home for a semester and just didn't do anything except work, and then I went back to California one more time.
Okay. And you graduated there?
Nope.
Okay.
I got my 3rd semester out of the way. Right before I left for my 3rd semester, I got engaged, and so I came home and got married instead.
Married, did that whole thing.
Yep.
Sweet. Now we don't have to go into that at all, but but yeah. So what kind of steps? So I kind of want to try to focus a little bit on like who you are, because like just all I know is like from you at work, right?
Yeah.
Like these characteristics, but like where do they come from, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what has shaped everything that you've experienced so far in life to who you are today? Like what mm-hmm. can you see? Like put some thoughts together from, hey, this is why I do this. This is why I'm driven to do this. Like, what are some of those things that you can kind of speak about?
Yeah. I know you said we didn't need to go there, but I think divorce was a really big thing that like really changed like the trajectory I was on. I think before that, like the way I grew up, I was so focused on just trying to do everything right. Mm-hmm. And, be perfect, don't make mistakes, and just trying to constantly meet other people's expectations. And then I went through that, and it was just at such a formative time because I was 21 and mm-hmm. already getting divorced. And I think it just like changed the whole thing in me where I was like, I'm just gonna, like, I'm too young to be this miserable. Mm-hmm. This whole thing of like just trying to let other people make all my decisions for me isn't working.
Yeah. It was never working for you, though, right?
No, I was never like happy with it. And actually, like, I was always a big journaler growing up, and I went back years later and was like reading my journals from like high school up until divorce. And like, even just reading the things I would write, I didn't realize that at the time, but I was so like, I don't even know what the word is. Like, you could just tell I was so burdened, I think, with trying to live out these expectations and like trying to be adequate by other people's measurements. And so, like, it was just exhausting. I think I was just tired. And I didn't know that didn't have to be that way until I went through all of that. And then I was like, I'm just going to start making my own choices and do what I want to do. And I don't really care.
And you're definitely doing that now, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Do you feel like the burden was lifted now, like compared to like hope from 5 years ago to now, or do you feel like it's still kind of there?
I think for the most part, yeah. I find, especially as I've like started going to therapy and like talking about all that, like she's just made me realize just areas in my life where like I still go revert back to like appeasement, mostly just with like key relationships where I'll just get passive about things, and it can be stupid stuff, but it's not the same burden that it was by any means. But I think it's just kind of one of those things where it's easier to take responsibility for all the blame and be mad at myself than at other people. And it's easier to change my plans or accommodate other people and just make it easy, because a lot of those things, it just feels like, well, this isn't a big enough hill to die on if it's just what restaurant we're eating at or something stupid, you know. But it just builds up over time. So I don't know, it's interesting.
No, I feel you there. I think I have like my therapist talks about it being like certain hooks. I don't know if you've heard that context, but basically the hook would be it would represent like something that like triggers you, right? So let's say, I don't even know, like disrespect, right, is something that's a trigger for me.
Sure.
And if I see it as a little fishy, and I see that there's a little worm of disrespect on a hook, like I should know not to bite the hook. I want the worm, but like, how do I avoid that, or how do I change my behaviors to like, I see this happening, I don't want to react the same way. So it's kind of an interesting thing.
That is interesting.
I like this a lot though, but
yeah.
I really get into psychology, but kind of to revamp things or refocus things a little bit, specifically with how you grew up. You know, you're a pastor's kid.
Yeah.
You kind of have experienced life, and it's beat you up a little bit, right?
A little bit.
Right. But it's kind of paved the way for you to be just a really, really good salesperson. I know you don't feel that way this month, but generally, you do really, really good with customers. You've really succeeded a lot faster than most people do in our industry. So what kind of things happen there? Like, do you know kind of why it just clicked really well for you?
That's hard. I think I gotta think about this for a minute. I think being pushed outside of my comfort zone, especially as an introvert, and then just having to learn how to start over and connect with people in a way I hadn't had to yet, was a big part of it. And I think, so when I used to do market value research for auto insurance companies, I just learned a lot about how to talk to people, even though I was just on the phone, but just handling things like escalation calls, just stuff like that. But then I think you pair that with, like you said, how I grew up. Like, I always understood customer service. A lot of my jobs I've had over the years have been centered around upselling, even though it's just stuff like, do you want an extra shot of espresso with that? But it all just started.
Extra pepperoni on your pizza.
Yeah. Would you like some extra pepperoni? Do you want to upgrade your size for $2 more? But I think also just like being out on my own and being on the other side of buying cars, I learned a lot, because I bought all my cars from Alex Weiss, and I really picked up on a lot of cues from him for things where it's like, the first time I went to buy a car from him, I was trying to trade in my 2012 Honda Civic for, I think it was like a 2011 or maybe a 2008 Honda CRV because I thought I needed all-wheel drive. And when I got there, we looked at numbers and everything. He showed me the cars, and he's just like, listen, I don't really see the sense in putting you in an older vehicle for a higher payment, but I can match your payment and put you in a brand new car right now. And so just seeing him do stuff like that, and like he was comfortable with putting in new ideas and like playing the role of a consultant instead of, as we say, like an order taker. That I learned a lot from that because I was super happy with that experience and all the experiences I had. But it was because he, thought critically, took in the information I was telling him, and was able to identify like what she needs and wants doesn't actually match up with what she thinks she wants here. And so I just tried to do the same thing.
Yeah.
I guess.
And I think you did a good job of it. I think when customers come to you, you just try to solve the problem, right? You try to put all the pieces together.
Yeah.
But you do it in a very almost analytical way. Would you say you're kind of more analytical than?
Very.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was that kid doing like jigsaw puzzles and taking apart pens and seeing how fast I could put them back together.
Yeah, and I think time and time again, I see your customers, like when they're in my office doing paperwork, that's how they feel from their sales experience. They felt like, this is what I came to the dealership with. This was my problem, and Hope helped me solve it. And time again, they're happy. You know what I mean? Like, so you do a really good job of that.
Thank you.
What about goals? Like, I know you're one of the most driven people I've ever met. Where does that come from?
Yeah.
Because it's not like, you just take a step back and look at your life. I'm from the church world. Sometimes like pastors' kids or people from the church are just, you don't have that sometimes. You know what I mean? It's kind of more of a flowy, like, hey, I'll let kind of God help me guide and stuff like that. But like, there's like a fire in you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where is that coming from? Is that mom, dad? Did you just do it yourself?
I think it was just myself. Yeah, I would agree. I don't think there was like that. I don't think I was exposed to that kind of drive or like goal setting growing up. My dad's very methodical, so I think maybe that's part of it. Because I do take after him a lot. But I think as far as like the ambition, that was something I got after going through a divorce, because it was something like I was doing it all by myself. I didn't have anyone helping me. I didn't know what was going on. And so I just had to go and make decisions and find a way to survive. And I think it just doing that and making like the sacrifices I had to make at the time just unlocked some ambition in me where I was like, I think a lot of it is because like I love to prove people wrong. I love it when they think I can't do something or that I'm not going to be able to make it. It's just really motivating to me. And that was one of those times where I was hearing things like, I've never seen somebody who goes through a divorce end up better off and things like that. And so I was like, I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to do it right now, and I'm going to live a way better life than I would have.
Yeah, that's awesome. So. And you do. Yeah. You got a convertible.
Yeah.
A bike.
Yeah.
A dog, a really cool dog.
Yeah.
That's awesome. For, let's just say 5 years, if you're going to go in 5 years in the future and you go back to this podcast, what's a goal that you hope that you achieve 5 years down the road? Oh,
that's a good one.
And maybe if we could be more specific, you can make it a work goal, because I'm sure you have life goals too, but what's a work goal you've got? You've been with the company a couple of years, so what are you thinking?
That's tough. I think I've been trying to reevaluate what I want to do here. Because like going into sales, I loved it, and I was like, I'll just do sales forever, and it'll just be easy. And then the opportunity with finance popped up, and I was like, okay, like maybe I'll work my way through, management, see where this takes me. And then I just did not like finance at all. So coming back to sales, now I'm sitting here reevaluating. I'm like, I don't know what my goal is, because I didn't like finance. And so I think the way I've been seeing it lately is there's probably some avenue I'll take that doesn't exist yet.
Sure.
I don't know what that is, but I think on a smaller scale, my goals right now with work is, I mean, just of course sell cars. I want to get to a point where I'm averaging 20 a month.
Dang, that'd be awesome.
It would be awesome. And I'm also just trying to grow my social media a little bit. I've been having a lot of fun posting TikToks, and hopefully that'll turn into customers down the road.
What's up with them always roasting you, though?
Oh, it's so fun.
That's
I don't know.
bad.
I get so much TikTok hate, and I always have.
Yeah, even on our like Vern Eide posts, you do.
I don't know what it is.
And it's bizarre because like everybody else does their TikTok and social media, and like nobody else gets any hate comments. It's always just your video.
I don't know, and it's just funny at this point. And like I've started just trying to bait them because I'm like, this is engagement, so I'm gonna the TikToks I get the most hate comments on are the ones with the most views usually. So
that's good, I guess.
It's kind of turned over the last few days where now all of a sudden everyone's like agreeing with the things I'm saying, and I'm like, oh, why are you guys being nice?
You want them to be mean?
I know, bully me.
That's awesome. No, that's cool. Yeah, things are changing a lot, you know, and I think your journey with Vern Eide has been kind of almost similar to kind of your journey in life, right? Like you've tried a few things, you've been real aggressive. I still think you'll be fine in finance. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I think one big testament of what you do, and this is something I can hang my hat on, is I always know that you're going to treat the customer right. You're always going to take care of them. You're going to follow our steps. You know, you're going to do everything possible to ensure that the customer has an amazing experience. So that's a really, really cool thing that you do for us. So you had a short stint in finance, right? And then you went back into sales. How do you feel as a company that they treated you? Because generally, I don't think most dealerships would just be like, all right, go back to sales. You know what I mean? Like, how do you feel like they treated you during that time?
I had a lot of support the whole time. I mean, it was my choice to go back to sales. I just kind of got to a point where I was like, I'm so unhappy. I kept telling myself, like, I need to at least give it 6 months or a year. And then I just sat down and started looking at numbers, and I was like, I am making less money. I am working more hours. I hate funding delays, and I just keep making these mistakes. And over time it would have gotten better probably, but I just was not enjoying it. And I was talking to my therapist about it, and I was like, if I can just know that this is going to pay off down the road, I mean, I'll push through it. And she's like, well, what would that look like? What would the payoff be? What do you want to see? And I was like, oh, you know, and I just kind of realized when she asked me that, like, there wouldn't be enough payoff. Like, it would be unrealistic to feel, because it's like I would have had it made like triple what I'm making or something. Just something outlandish to be like, okay, I can deal with this because of the crazy reward. But I just realized, like, what I'm seeing here in finance, like, I can have the same level of success doing sales and enjoy it and have more flexibility with my schedule, more freedom, and not feel like locked up in an office. And so that's when I was talking to you actually about it, and you were just like, well, you know, you were very supportive, but you just said you should let Tyler and Travis know this is where you're at, just so that everybody's in the loop. Because if you do decide you want to go back to sales, obviously Mitsubishi's going to have to figure something out. And so I went and I told them, and it was right before the Mexico trip. I was just like, I'm not happy here, and I hate it, and I kind of want to go back to sales, but I haven't decided. And they were super understanding and supportive too. They were just like, whatever you want to do, like, we're all the way behind you. And so just let us know. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go on this trip, you know, get a little time away and then think about it and make a decision. And I came back and I was just like, I want to be back in sales. Yeah. And so, they were just perfectly supportive about it. They were just like, wherever you want to go, we believe you're going to do well. And so, like, you have our blessing either way. And so That was really nice because in my head I was putting this pressure of like, I don't want to let people down because they gave me this really big opportunity pretty early on in sales, my sales career. And I just didn't want to disappoint them or let down their expectations because I just felt like, you know, Lane believed in me, Tyler, Travis, you, Jim, and so all these people that I wanted to live up to their expectations, and also I didn't want it to come across like I didn't recognize or appreciate the opportunity I was given, and so having that support and understanding was really relieving.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool. Like, I've worked with all these guys for so long, and just in general, across the board, that's really the heart of everybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We all have different personalities.
Yeah.
But at the very core, Vern Eide is always going to be a place that's going to take care of, the employees.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Which is sometimes hard to see in the midst of chaos and anger or disagreements, but really at the core, I think we do a good job of taking care of our employees that way. So with anybody who is listening to this and thinking about, hey, I want to make a move into sales, or I kind of want to do that, and they can kind of resonate a little bit with your story. What's something that you would give as far as advice goes for someone thinking about making the switch to working at Vern Eide?
I think that you just have to understand that your success depends on you, because we get all the tools given to us that we need, and so you're only going to be as successful as you decide to be and put the work in for. And so if you want to do sales or come work at Vern Eide, like, it's all up to you, because you're gonna have the support. But if you're failing, it's also probably on you, because I've never seen somebody fail that wasn't because of their own lack of effort or self-improvement or self-awareness. And so if you make the move, just make sure you're committed to it, I think.
Sweet. Awesome. Well, perfect. Well, guys, this was another episode of Is This Thing On? Again, Hope, thank you for hanging out with us. Thank you for doing this, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Cheers.